All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating today. We're going to be exploring how those first few moments of your day can set the stage for a more, I don't know, motivated and fulfilling experience. And this is going to be inspired by, of all things, Buddhist philosophy.
It's amazing how much wisdom can be found in those ancient practices, and it's so relevant to our modern lives.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at some insights drawn from Buddhist teachings on things like mindfulness, gratitude, and intention setting. And we might even unlock a key to boosting productivity or finding inner peace and aligning ourselves with a greater sense of purpose, all by changing how we approach our mornings.
It really comes down to aligning yourself with a deeper sense of awareness and intention, right from when you wake up. So instead of starting your day by frantically checking your phone or hitting the snooze button, imagine shaping the energy of your whole day.
Yeah, I love that. And our source material really dives into how Buddhists view the morning as a fresh start.
Right, it's like a mini reset button, a chance to step into the day with a clean slate, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And it's not about adding more to your to-do list, but more about shifting your mindset. Buddhists call this beginner's mind. It's about approaching each moment with openness and curiosity as if you're experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. How often do we just go through the motions in the morning, just stuck on autopilot?
Oh, all the time. Guilty as charged, for sure. But how do we actually cultivate this beginner's mind, especially when we're half asleep and, reaching for the coffee?
That's where rituals can come in. And these aren't about rigid rules or adding more stress to your morning, okay? Think of them more as gentle nudges to help you step into the day with intention. They're kind of like anchors for your mind, guiding you towards being more present and mindful.
I like that. Okay, so let's unpack these rituals. The first one that our source material highlights is all about gratitude and mindfulness, two concepts that get a lot of buzz these days, but are often misunderstood.
Right. Basically, starting the day with gratitude rewires your brain to focus on the positive. When you dwell on what you lack, your brain releases stress hormones, cortisol, for example. But when you actively focus on what you're grateful for, even if it's small stuff, it triggers the release of those feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin.
Right.
It's like a biological hack for a happier and more resilient mindset.
It's so fascinating, right? It's like we have this power to literally change our brain chemistry just by shifting our focus.
Exactly. And this practice is really in line with the Buddhist principle of metta, which is usually translated as loving kindness. So when you cultivate gratitude, you're essentially giving that loving kindness to yourself, acknowledging the good things in your life and fostering contentment.
So how does this work in practice? Is it just about listing things we're grateful for in our heads?
Yeah, it can be that simple. But the key is to go beyond just thinking it. It's more about feeling that gratitude in your body. The source material actually compares this to the Buddhist practice of zazen. That's a form of seated meditation. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a full-on meditation session every morning.
Right.
But what I am saying is try to bring that same mindful awareness to your gratitude practice.
So instead of just thinking, I'm grateful for my comfy bed, I might actually take a moment to feel the softness of the sheets, the warmth of the blanket. Really savor it.
Yes, exactly. Engage your senses. Notice the details and allow yourself to be fully present in that moment of gratitude. It's like a mini meditation for your soul. Even 5 minutes of this can completely change your energy. And it sets a positive tone for your whole day. Have you ever tried anything like that?
I have. I've kind of dabbled in gratitude practices before, but I never really thought about it in terms of engaging my senses or connecting it to the practice of Zazen. I love how this deep dive is already giving me a whole new perspective on stuff I thought I knew.
That's what I love about these ancient practices. They're full of timeless wisdom. You can apply it in so many ways.
All right, so we've got this gratitude and mindfulness ritual. What's next on our list of Buddhist-inspired morning practices?
The next one is all about activating your physical and mental energy. You see, in Buddhist philosophy, the mind and body are viewed as interconnected, not separate.
I'm really intrigued by that concept. I mean, we all know that when we feel good physically, our mental state tends to follow, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is reflected in the Buddhist concept of the body as the temple of the soul. It's not just about being physically healthy, it's about recognizing that our bodies are sacred vessels that are worthy of care and attention.
Okay.
And that care, in turn, nourishes our minds and spirits.
Okay, so how do we actually turn this concept into a morning ritual?
Well, it could be as simple as incorporating a few minutes of mindful movement into your routine. So, light stretching, yoga, a brisk walk in nature, even just a few deep breaths. consciously bringing oxygen and energy into your body. The key is to do it with awareness, noticing how your body feels, how your breath flows, and how your body responds.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to do a crazy workout, but more about tuning in to what feels good for our bodies in that moment.
Precisely. It's about approaching movement as a form of self-care, not a chore. And as you do this, as you cultivate this sense of embodiment, your mind naturally becomes more alert and focused, which is what we want. It sets the stage for a productive and energized day.
I'm really starting to see how these, what seem like small practices, can impact our whole day. Like we're setting the foundation for a more mindful and intentional way of being.
That's exactly it. And as we build on this foundation, we can start to incorporate practices that nourish not just our physical and mental energy, but also our sense of purpose and direction.
Oh, now I'm really curious. What kind of rituals can help us tap into that? I'm ready to keep diving deeper.
Well, that brings us to our third key ritual, which focuses on planning and visualization. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's about how this ties into Buddhist philosophy.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more. Okay, so we left off talking about planning and visualization and how it fits into, Buddhist-inspired morning rituals. It's not exactly the first thing you think of when you think of like Zen or meditation or something.
Hey, it might seem a little counterintuitive, but this is where it gets really interesting. Buddhism puts a lot of emphasis on how our intentions and actions are connected. Like what we consistently think about and do shapes our reality.
Yeah.
And so planning in this sense isn't just about like scheduling meetings.
Right.
It's more about consciously taking control of your day with intention.
So it's not just writing down your to-do list, but aligning your actions with like your deeper goals and values.
Exactly. Think of it as like choosing how you want to spend your energy and your time consciously. And it's interesting because this aligns with the Buddhist principle of karma, which basically means that our actions have consequences. So when we plan with intention, we're more likely to make choices that lead to good outcomes, not just for ourselves, but for others as well.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like going from just reacting to things to being more proactive instead of just letting the day happen to us. We're actually shaping it.
Yeah.
But what about the visualization piece? Where does that fit in with Buddhist teachings?
Yeah, visualization is a really powerful tool. It's used in a lot of spiritual traditions, and it's a big part of Buddhist psychology.
Okay.
It's based on this idea that our minds are super powerful. Like, what we focus on repeatedly is going to influence our thoughts, our feelings, and eventually our actions.
So it's not just wishful thinking. It's actually like training your mind to create the reality you want.
Exactly. By vividly imagining yourself, like going through your day successfully, achieving your goals, embodying the qualities you want to cultivate, you're basically planting those seeds in your mind, like your subconscious. It's like giving your brain a blueprint for success.
But doesn't that take a lot of like mental discipline? I mean, my mind is usually all over the place first thing in the morning. How can I even try to visualize anything when it feels like my thoughts are like totally scattered?
Well, that's where all the things we've already talked about come into play, the gratitude, the mindfulness, the physical activation. Those things create a more receptive space in your mind for visualization.
Yeah.
Like you're clearing away all the mental clutter so you can really focus your intention.
So it's all connected. Like
Yeah.
each ritual builds on the last one.
Yeah.
And it creates this powerful like synergy that really helps us succeed.
That's it exactly. But even with the best intentions in the world, turning these rituals into habits that stick can be tough.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And the source material actually dives into some really cool strategies for making these practices stick.
Okay, yeah. I'm ready for some practical tips here.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, we've all been there. We get all inspired, we try something new, and then life gets in the way.
Right.
Our old habits come creeping back, and all those good intentions just sort of fizzle out.
Yeah, it's super common, and it has a lot to do with how our brains work. But this is where Buddhist wisdom really shines. It reminds us that change is a process, right? It's not like a switch you flip overnight.
Yeah, it's like that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to be patient with yourself and let those habits take root over time.
Exactly. And the source material uses this beautiful analogy. It says the mind is like a garden. Whatever we consistently plant, our thoughts, actions, intentions, that's what's going to grow and bear fruit.
I like that.
So instead of getting discouraged by setbacks, we can approach the whole thing with like curiosity and gentleness. We can nurture these new habits with care, and consistency.
I love that analogy. Okay, so instead of trying to like completely overhaul my whole morning routine all at once. Maybe I should just focus on one ritual at a time.
That's a great approach. And it actually lines up with the Buddhist principle of right effort, which is all about finding that middle path, not pushing too hard, but
Mhm.
also not being complacent.
Yeah.
So by starting small, you're setting yourself up for success.
So maybe instead of trying to meditate for like 30 minutes right off the bat, I start with just 5 minutes of mindful breathing. Or if I'm doing the gratitude practice, I just write down one thing I'm grateful for each morning.
Exactly. Those are perfect examples. It's about figuring out what's doable for you and what you can stick with. And here's a key thing. Make it so easy that you can't not do it. Take away anything that might stop you from showing up for yourself.
Yeah, that's such a good tip. Because sometimes the hardest part is just getting started.
Oh, for sure. And as you start to feel the positive effects of even those small changes, you'll naturally feel more motivated to keep going.
It's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
Of positive energy.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got the whole start small thing down. What other gems does our source material offer for turning these rituals into habits?
Yeah, I want to know.
This one might seem kind of obvious, but it's easy to forget. Make your rituals enjoyable.
You mean like I shouldn't force myself to meditate in silence if I actually prefer to have some calming music playing?
Exactly. The source material emphasizes that these rituals are meant to be nourishing, not punishing. Find ways to make them your own, Make them feel like acts of self-care.
So if I'm doing the gratitude practice, maybe I like get a really nice journal that I love to write in or sip some delicious tea while I'm reflecting. And for the physical activation, I could put on some upbeat music or light a scented candle to create a nicer atmosphere.
Exactly. It's all about creating an experience that you actually look forward to. The more you connect those rituals with good feelings, the more likely you are to keep doing them.
This makes so much sense. It's not about forcing ourselves to be perfect. It's about finding what works for us
Right.
and making those practices joyful.
You got it. It's about respecting your own rhythm and your own preferences. Now, there are a couple more really powerful strategies that our source material highlights for, making these habits stick. Are you ready to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hooked on this conversation. Bring on the next habit-forming tip. All right, we're back for the last part of our deep dive into these Buddhist-inspired morning rituals. And I gotta say, I'm feeling way more prepared to actually transform my mornings. We've uncovered the why behind these practices, how they can shift our whole mindset. And last time we got into the how, like those practical ways to turn them into habits that stick.
It's been a really fascinating journey so far, hasn't it? And now, for this last part, I want to explore some of the more subtle benefits that come up when you actually do these practices consistently.
I'm all ears,
Yeah.
because I have a feeling these rituals go way deeper than just like having a more productive day or a better morning.
Yeah, absolutely. What's really interesting is that these practices don't just impact our mornings, right? It's like a ripple effect that spreads throughout our day and even our whole lives, really.
I've kind of been noticing that, actually. It's like those small intentional things I do in the morning create this positive momentum that kind of carries me through the day, even when things get, tough.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it goes back to this idea of interconnectedness that's so central to Buddhism. Our thoughts, actions, intentions, they're all woven together. So when we start the day with mindfulness, gratitude, purpose, it naturally influences how we approach everything that comes after.
So it's not just about having a peaceful morning routine. It's about cultivating a more peaceful and intentional way of being in the world, period.
Beautifully put. And as we cultivate these qualities through our morning rituals, we might find ourselves more patient when we're stuck in traffic, or more present with our loved ones, more resilient when we face challenges,
It's funny you should say that. Since I started doing these practices, I've definitely noticed I'm way less reactive to stress. Because I have this inner reserve of calm I can draw on now.
That's incredible. It's a testament to how powerful these practices can be. They really do give us the tools to go through life's ups and downs with more grace and ease.
Yeah. It's like they create a buffer between us and all the chaos out there, and help us respond with more clarity and composure.
That's a perfect way to describe it, and that sense of inner peace is one of the most, I'd say, profound benefits of doing morning rituals consistently. It's not about escaping life's challenges, but more about having the inner strength to meet them head on with awareness and resilience.
I love all this. But sometimes, I gotta be honest, I still have those moments where I'm like, are these rituals really making a difference? It's subtle sometimes, How do I know if I'm actually on the right track?
That's a really great question. Change isn't always this big dramatic thing. A lot of times it's a bunch of tiny, almost invisible changes that build up over time. But those changes, they can be so powerful.
So how do we, stay tuned in to those subtle shifts? How do we know if we're going in the right direction?
It comes down to self-reflection, taking the time to really observe how you're feeling, how you're reacting to things, how your whole outlook on life is changing.
So it's not just about doing the rituals, it's about paying attention to, the impact they're having on us internally.
Right. And this doesn't have to be a big deal. It could be as simple as spending a few minutes at the end of each day journaling about what you noticed. Like, what was your energy like? How was your mood? How did you interact with people? Did you handle stressful stuff differently?
That's a great idea. It's like looking in the mirror, but on the inside, and getting curious about how these rituals are changing us bit by bit.
Precisely. And when you start to notice those positive changes, even the little ones, it reinforces that commitment you made to the practice and it keeps you going, right? It becomes this positive feedback loop. The more we see the benefits, the more motivated we are to keep cultivating them.
This has been such an insightful conversation. Honestly, I feel like I understand the power of morning rituals in a whole new way, and I'm super excited to keep exploring these in my own life.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you. And remember, the key thing is to approach it all with curiosity, a sense of playfulness, and be kind to yourself. There's no one right way to do it. It's all about what works for you and honoring your own unique path.
That's beautifully said. And to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to, start this journey of self-discovery through morning rituals. Start small, be consistent, and above all, be kind to yourselves along the way. You might be surprised at how transformative it can be.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time as we explore more ideas and practices to help us all live more mindful and meaningful lives.
Until then, keep diving deep.